You probably heard this a million times, right? That your brain is like a muscle. If you just work it hard enough, you can get smarter. It's a really powerful idea, and it has totally changed classrooms all over the world. But here's the thing. Is it actually true? That's the big question we're digging into today.
So think about this for a second. Deep down, do you believe your talents are just carved in stone? Or do you see them as something you can actually shape and develop over time? Your answer here, well, it might be one of the most important beliefs you have.
Because that brain is a muscle idea, as inspiring as it has kicked off an absolute firestorm in the scientific community. So today, we're going to unpack that whole controversy. We'll look at the evidence, the arguments, and try to get to the bottom of this whole mindset thing.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to go back to where it all started. This whole concept of mindset comes from the groundbreaking work of psychologist Carol Dweck, and it's built on a beautifully simple core idea.
It really all boils down to these two different ways of seeing the world. On one side, you've got the fixed mindset. This is the belief that you've got a certain amount of intelligence, and that's that. Here, having to try hard feels like a sign of weakness, and when you fail, it feels like a final judgment. But on the other side, you've got the growth mindset. This is the view that intelligence is something you can build. Effort isn't weakness, it's the tool you use to build it. And failure? Well, failure isn't a verdict at all. It's just useful feedback.
Now, this idea took off like a rocket. It swept through schools and businesses, but then other scientists started putting it under the microscope. And that is where the real fight began.
So on one side, you have the skeptics. Researchers like McNamara and Burgoyne gathered up dozens and dozens of studies and crunched all the numbers. And what did they find? The average effect of these mindset programs on student grades was a Cohen's d of 0.05. Now, what does that mean? In the real world, it's basically nothing. It's a statistically tiny, almost zero effect.
But the people who supported the theory fired right back. They said, whoa, you're looking at it all wrong. You can't just average everyone together. They argued that you have to look at the students who are most at risk, the ones facing the biggest hurdles. And for those students, they found the effect size shot up to 0.35. Now that is a much more meaningful, noticeable impact.
And this chart right here really shows you the heart of the debate. How can both be right? Is this a tiny effect that's been overhyped? Or is it a powerful, laser-focused tool for specific students? This massive gap is what has fueled the scientific battle for years.
So, to figure out who's right, we need to pop the hood and see how this thing actually works. I mean, how can a simple belief in your head change how well you do things? The answer, it turns out, has to do with some of our deepest human drives.
This brings us to a really cool idea called self-determination theory. It's pretty simple, actually. It says that for any of us to feel motivated and to really thrive, we need three basic things. We need to feel autonomy, like we're in the driver's seat of our own lives. We need to feel competence, like we're good at what we do. And we need to feel relatedness, a sense of connection to others.
And here's where it all connects, and it's so cool. A growth mindset is like a key that unlocks those fundamental needs. It feeds your sense of autonomy, because if you can grow, then your success depends on your choices and your effort. And it builds your sense of competence, because every challenge just becomes a new opportunity to get better. A fixed mindset? It does the exact opposite. It slams the door on those needs, making you feel helpless and stuck.
Okay, but get this. This difference isn't just some abstract psychological idea. You can actually see it physically happening inside the brain. So let's look at the hard science of what your brain does when you mess up.
So, scientists can measure a very specific brain signal called the error positivity, or P-wave for short. You can think of it as your brain's uh-oh signal. It's a spark of electrical activity that shows your brain is consciously paying attention to a mistake it just made. The bigger that spark, the more your brain is trying to learn from what went wrong.
And this part is just wild. The brains of people with different mindsets react in completely opposite ways. When a fixed mindset brain makes an error, you see a really weak P signal. It's like the brain sees the mistake as a threat to its ego and just tries to ignore it. But the growth mindset brain, it shows these huge spike. It's literally hungry for the information in that mistake. It leans in, treating the error as valuable data to get better.
So what's the final verdict? Well, it's not a simple yes or no. A mindset isn't some magic pill. The brain science is real, for sure, but whether it actually leads to better grades or better performance, that depends entirely on the world around you. Context is everything.
And this is a really critical point that even Carol Dweck herself had to clarify. She warns about something she calls false growth mindset. That's when you just tell a student, good effort, when they failed, without anything else. It can feel like an empty consolation prize. Real growth mindset feedback praises the process, sure, but it also helps the student figure out a better strategy for next time.
Because a student's belief that they can grow just can't survive in a vacuum. It doesn't mean much if their teacher secretly thinks talent is fixed, or if the school culture punishes every mistake. The whole ecosystem has to be on board, from the teacher's beliefs to the school's policies.
And we have absolute, rock-solid proof of this. A huge gold standard study called the National Study of Learning Mindsets found something stunning. A mindset program given to students had zero effect, I mean zilch, if their classroom teacher personally held a fixed mindset. The teacher's own belief completely vetoed the entire intervention.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, understanding that context is king has totally changed the game. It's leading to much smarter, more sophisticated ways of thinking about how to help people learn.
You can really see the evolution here. We started with these simple, one-off online programs just for students. Then we realized, oh, wait a minute, the most important part is the teacher, so the focus shifted to training teachers. And now we're heading into a third, really exciting stage, and it's powered by technology. This is just fascinating. Brand new studies are showing that AI tutors can be programmed to give that perfect, growth-oriented feedback every single time. They can praise a student's strategy, offer new ideas when they're stuck, and do it without ever getting tired or having an implicit bias. In a way, they can solve that massive problem of context and scale.
And all of this leaves us with one last, really big thought to chew on. After all this research, it seems the power of mindset is absolutely real, but it's also fragile. It needs the right environment to grow. So maybe the biggest challenge isn't just changing a student's mind. Maybe the real work is in building schools and workplaces and a culture that truly believes we can all get better.